We're going to make a step bezel for a large round faceted stone. So lay the table, which is the flat part on the top, on your bench. Put your calipers with the jaws flat on the bench and do your measurement that way. So this is 11.9. Write that down. Our bezel material is 0.5 thick fine silver. So we're going to add 0.5 to the 11.9 multiplied by 3.14, and that will give us the length to cut our outer bezel. So we need an outer and an inner bezel. Now, to know how high, you just put the table of your stone on the jaws of your calipers and measure it that way. Measure the height from the culet to the table. So that will be the height of your outer bezel. In this case, 7.8, so we'll make it 8 millimeters. To mark our bezel, so I'm going to set this at 8 mil. Clamp the side and just drag, put one jaw over the edge and drag it, and you'll have a nice clear line to cut to. Now, by doing my multiplication, I know that the length needs to be 39.25 for this one. So I'll cut this now. So 8 millimeters high, 39.25 long, and then we can make our outer bezel. Cut your bezel out, recheck for length. If it's slightly long, file the end. Just brace it against your bench peg. Make sure both ends are nice and flat. Bend it into a bit of a circle using your flat half-round pliers. Don't grab the very end or you'll put a dent in it that will be unsightly. And you're just going to bring the ends together so that you have a perfect fit. Manipulate it, push, pull, do whatever you need. Get it so you have a nice fit. We're going to hold this joint up in a third hand, 2 bits of solder on the outside, hard solder. Get the fit as perfect as possible. You want the better the fit now, the easier the cleanup will be. A neutral flame, the same flame we always use. Warm the piece. Push your solder bits into place once the flux has dried out. Both sides of the metal need to be the same temperature. The flux will go clear, the solder will run, take the flame away. Quench it and pickle it. Dry the piece, round it up on a ring mandrel. If your ring mandrel is too big, you can round it up on what they call a bezel mandrel, which is just a smaller version of this. Now gently with your rawhide hammer, because this is fine silver, it'll be easy to stretch it, so do the minimum amount you need. Be sure you flip it over so it's not tapered. That's it. So at this point, we haven't done any cleanup. We want to check it over our stone to make sure it's a good fit. It should be just a slight pressure, or it should just fit over the stone with no gap. If it's big, you're going to have to cut it and make it smaller. If it's slightly small, you can just gently hammer it up on your ring mandrel with the rawhide hammer. So this is a good fit. Now we'll make our inner bezel, and by writing the numbers down, we'll be able to just plug the formula in to figure our inner diameter. And the inner diameter is of the bezel is your diameter minus the thickness of the material, so it's minus 0.5 times pi. Now the height for this we want to be from the culate, which is the point, to the bottom of the girdle. Now your calipers, this bit down here will measure the height or the depth. So you can just run that down, put the base. I guess it would be easier to do it this way. Put the point against your calipers, and we're going to have to run that down until we have the girdle. So from the point to the girdle will be the height of our inner bezel. When you're cutting your bezel to length, you can just use a set of sharp shears. Just make sure they're sharp and no serrated edge, and file the end flat afterwards, because anytime you use a shear it'll bend the edge down slightly. Bend your ends around, check for length first. The old rough oval thing. Make sure you have a good join. Solder it. Now with this one you want your solder on the inside, and that way you won't have a bump here that's interfering when you go to push the two bezels together. Now I've got the join down, and we'll just gently heat this until the flux dries out. We'll push our solder over, and we want the flame to heat the inside of the bezel. As soon as the solder flows, take your flame away, quench it, pickle it, and then round it up. Now I haven't pickled the inner bezel yet, but you can see by having my flame on the inside and my solder on the inside, there's the tiniest amount of solder on the outside. This bit here is flux, but that is exactly what I want. Round up your inner bezel, same way. This is a bezel mandrel. You can see it's a lot smaller. So check your inner and outer bezel for fit. You want the joins to be on opposite sides, and it should be a snug fit. Yeah, so you want just a gentle push to be able to hold that in place. Now you can put your stone in, check it for height, and if the height is off, you can just adjust your inner bezel to the right height, and then we'll solder the inner to the outer. And by putting the joints opposite, they won't open up, and by having just a gentle push, they won't open up. If it's a really tight fit, guaranteed the outer bezel will open up when you start to solder it. So this is just a little bit low. You shouldn't be able to see quite so much material above the girdle, but we can just slide the inner bezel up until we just have a small amount of metal visible above the girdle. like that. Now we can put this on our charcoal block and solder it. And when you have the correct height and you put this on your block, I would recommend putting it on sideways like this, and just put a piece of solder at one spot, solder it, then rotate this top to bottom so that you can get another point opposite. And if it's a nice close fit, it won't take much solder to fill the joint all the way around. And by doing it sideways, this won't slip. The height will remain the same. With just one piece of hard solder touching the inner and outer bezel, and I'm soldering it on the bottom. And you want the solder to touch both pieces. Bring it up to temperature. Flux will go clear. I could see the solder flow about halfway around. Reposition this, do it again, pickle it and dry it. Okay, we've got our bezel done. What you want to do is file your top edge at a 45-degree angle. This will just make it prettier when you set it. So all the way around to just about half the original thickness. Don't make it into a knife edge. You just want to slightly thin it. Sand your solder join now. Just follow the curve of the metal, and if you had a good fit, that's all it should take, and it should be ready. If the bottom is a little bit rough, you can tidy it up, but basically this is ready to solder to your main piece now. The only thing that you would do after this would be to set your stone and then polish it. So solder it onto your piece of jewelry.